Self-Publishing Podcast, episode number 126.
This episode of the Self-Publishing Podcast is brought to you by 99 Designs, the online marketplace that helps you get outstanding book cover designs at an affordable price. Start your custom design today at 99designs.com/SPP. Enjoy a free Power Pack upgrade valued at $99.
Welcome to the Self-Publishing Podcast, where if you want something done right, you gotta do it yourself. And now, here are your hosts, the three guys who hunt Ewoks on the forest moon of Endor, Johnny, Sean, and Dave.
Hey, everyone, and welcome to the Self-Publishing Podcast, the podcast where I forgot my new intro and therefore can't read it right now. But it's all about gatekeepers, no more of them, etc., etc. We'll figure it out next time. I'm Johnny B. Truin, and my co-hosts are Sean Platt and David Wright. We recorded a new intro, and the thing that's best about this is that we're recording out of sync again, so I apologize to live viewers. We'll get back.
We've been doing that a lot lately.
I know. We'll get back on track next time, but not even next week, though, because that's part of this. So we're actually recording 126 an hour prior to 125, because we want to talk about some live event stuff that occurred, and we're hyped now, and we don't want to wait another week to talk about it. So we're all out of order. So you actually maybe will hear the correct intro on 125, and then I fuck it up on 126.
And then we'll really look like screw-ups then.
Again.
You know, it's really really strange to see Dave via computer again, because I really do feel like this is a doppelganger situation.
You finally got adjusted, your eyes and the reality of Happy Dave. We should save that for Better Off Undead, which is, are we calling it that? Well, Sean and Johnny ruined Dave?
We should also save all of this talk about meaning for the next episode, because that's a live one that people are going to be watching.
About meaning?
Meaning of life. We should save that. No,
well, but Dave, that's the whole reason we're recording it early. That's the reason we're meeting early.
Stupid, and I wasn't consulted. This should be the live one then.
But then why?
But we already have a booked guest.
Right, that's the problem, is that we already have a booked guest.
Just do two live ones.
But
then we'd be going late.
And we're out of
waiting to find out what happened. And we just said, we're going to save that one and put it in the time machine.
Well, we're not, because by the time they get this, they will have heard Better Off Undead. I know, time travel stories are complicated, but Better Off Undead will actually air.
That will be fresh.
This,
yes, because we already ran the man from Panera last week.
The very well-dressed man.
The fancy man from Panera. That's all right. You'll catch up.
Well, I won't go into the whole thing, but it is a different experience meeting Dave in person. Sufficient that he's almost he's different. Like
I'm well dressed.
He's very well dressed.
No, nice.
He's it is a different experience, and that's, well, I won't go into the ruining, but
okay, all right. Now here's Dave's confusion, because he knows that there's a lot of like jovial stuff that has to happen here. And so he's concerned that there's not going to be audience participation there. But the difference is we're going to talk about more professional things right now. Like the actual title of this is the benefit of in-person meetings and things like that.
Actually, that's not the title. I'm wondering where you're reading that from. You acted like this is the title, motherfucker. But
well,
it's not what I wrote.
Tone of the title. What's the title?
It's the tone. It's why indie authors should. Because it's cut off. It's like why authors should attend in-person events or something like that.
All right. Well, the same tone. So, but we'll get to the decoy birthday and all that stuff during BOU.
Right. That's actually, not that doesn't matter. Really.
I actually propose that we split that into two and do two BOUs, Panera Fancy Man style, because there's plenty there. We could do two shorter episodes, and then we're on track. We got two on live and two in the time machine.
Oh, God. And then, so I apologize to all you live people. After this episode, 127 and 101, 127 of SPP and 101 of BOU will be back on their normal live schedule.
And we'll stop sucking. And maybe for 101, we'll be doing Birdemic 2. Maybe.
Okay. Well, let's move away from the Better Off Undead bullshit. basically two things happened, and they happened in quick succession. And they made, well, I don't know if Dave's on board with this, but they made Sean and I like very excited to do like that. We were meeting people in person. Dave seemed excited. He seemed happy.
Yeah, but
And
only after the murderous drive. He had to
Only-
drive through a monsoon to get there.
Hurricane, get it right.
Hurricane. And so we didn't get a chance to talk about the first one before it was like bang bang, and we had the second one. So basically, on Monday of the Monday after Labor Day in the U.S., Sean and I we gave the closing keynote at Author Marketing Live, Jim Kukral's Author Marketing Club event. And then that was Monday, and then Thursday, I hopped, and so Sean flew into where I am, to Cleveland, and then we spoke on Monday, and then he flew out Tuesday, and then on Thursday, I got on a plane and flew to Austin, which is where Sean lives, and then we had the summit. Dave then spent 20 hours driving the same distance through a hurricane, a motherfucking hurricane, and then we had the Story World Summit. We had the World Builder session with 5 attendees, and then that was Saturday, Sunday, and then I stuck around until Tuesday, and Dave stuck around until Tuesday too, and then we took off and went back. So it's been a very tumultuous week, but there was no chance to talk about the experience of Author Marketing Live before the summit. It just didn't make sense. So we wanted to sort of do a like why you should meet people in person sort of a show.
Yeah, and it's actually kind of cool that they were compacted like that. That's the reason we didn't do a live
Not for
show.
my schedule.
Right, right. Oh my God, this has been it was the longest 8 days ever, but it was really awesome. The recovery was, I think you're
Oh,
probably.
there he is. He's blanked out again. I missed it.
He did this in person, you guys. No, he did this in person. He would just get up and disappear and be gone for like 6 or 7 minutes and then just come back. No explanation, and they weren't bathroom breaks either. They were just Dave has to disappear breaks. They were amazing.
Yeah. So anyway,
I have to decompress. I can only be around humans for so.
Don't let him fool you. I am no longer afraid of Dave, people.
No, and neither is anyone in that room. It was pretty cuddly.
I clearly do not like the idea of meeting people again.
There goes
See-
the superpower.
See, oh my goodness, it's like radiation. Like he's far away now from the core of the spill.
It really is a different energy.
Yeah, because when he was there.
I'm back in Florida. I'll talk about this on BOU, but there is a complete and total psychological shift that happens once I cross the state line.
You know what it is? When Dave walked in, I was like, I know it's Dave. He looks like Dave. He doesn't look different, but you know what it's like? It's like when there was a certain actress, Sean, where she looked different after a period, and I was like, what's different about this woman? I don't know if you remember that story. And it was like in the eyes or something. It was something in the attitude.
I had a facelift too.
Uh-huh. And it was something like that. It was like what's different? And it's a vibe. It's an energy. He's a different Dave. He's a Dave doppelganger. He's a Davelganger.
Davelganger. That's fantastic. But yeah, the amount of smiling that he did was, and nobody could quite believe it either. They just kept, is that really Dave?
That's the way I felt.
He didn't smile at dinner on.
He's
Saturday
smiling in
night.
all the pictures. I don't know if we're allowed to
Save
share
all
those
this.
pictures. Are we allowed to share? All right, we'll save the Dave stuff. So, bigger picture, why should you attend live events? And by live events, I just mean they can be meetups. Like, they don't need to be conferences.
Yeah, they don't need to be conferences at all. I mean, even like tweet ups or just getting in, hanging out with people in person.
Being your writing partner.
One of the things that Johnny and I are actually really quite serious about, and this happened totally by accident, because they came in on Thursday night, and so on Friday we had kind of like it was an odd day because we had time to kill, but we wanted to be on hand for when the attendees came in, but we didn't know when that would happen. So we just kind of couldn't really do anything. We wanted to be available, but didn't know when or what. So we just kind of tooled around with Johnny's family for a little while, and we went hiking, of all things. We were just looking for a park, and we ended up, just hiking. And we thought, you know what? This would be so awesome once Johnny moves to Austin to actually have our story meetings on a hike. instead of sitting on stupid chair at the stupid desk in front of the stupid computer like we have to do for 8 other stupid million hours per day. How awesome would it be to just meet at some place and go hike, and we could record it if we needed to, and generate our ideas that way, because I think we're both active people who would rather be walking anyway. And just the idea, the chemistry together, there's no doubt that that's better. So it's not even, I think networking is great when you go to conferences and things like that, but I think in-person energy, there is no substitute for it. And we're lucky because we really do get to create amazing things, the three of us together, without ever being in person. But I think that's going to amplify exponentially once we are all sharing the same city.
I'm actually super hyped on that walking story meeting idea. I've been thinking about that a lot. And when I got back, I've been sending Sean a series of emails about, like, okay, I need to move down there. Like, what, where.
I think they switched places a little bit because Johnny's getting more Davish about his anger towards Ohio.
Well, speaking of I mean, I'm hyped on a lot of it, but speaking of differences in interpersonal energy, I mean, just sticking with the idea of partners and coworkers, collaborators, a little bit, is we actually didn't get a chance for the three of us to sit down, just the three of us and all three of us, until the final night. So, in retrospect, like, the next time we do this, when we do it for the colonist session, if Dave goes to that, I don't know if he will, and when we do the World Builder next year, we'll have to do that first, like have time before people show up, because the energy, like, we went until after midnight and we were exhausted already, but we kind of just wanted to do it anyway because the energy was so different. Like, I feel like, here's the part where Dave makes fun of me, but I feel closer to these guys. Like, I feel like our relationship is better, and I feel like I've always felt like Sean and Dave had this good relationship, and that Sean and I did because we've met in person a few times. But I've never really felt very close to Dave because we've never met. And now that we have, it was a really good, like, that was a really good
like
session.
Smiling.
I really dug it.
Yeah, we talked until past midnight, and this was after a very, very long weekend. And for Johnny and I, well, actually all of us, because even though, Johnny and I, we both had to fly. We traded times, but Dave had to drive through a hurricane, 20 hours to get to Texas. And so I think we were all just really, really spent and really exhausted. And after I took Johnny and Dave back to the hotel, I really, really just wanted to go home and sleep so bad. I was so empty. But how could I go when that was our time to, actually talk and be together and be just the trio? And so that was like at 7 o'clock, and we ended up talking for another many, many hours, and it was really, really amazing.
It was a beautiful thing.
It was a beautiful thing, but I feel we've always said we're all for one and one for all. We've always said, like, we're the Three Musketeers, but I feel that more now. But even more globally, I mean, do you want to let's talk about Author Marketing Live a little bit, because we didn't get a chance to do that. Whenever, actually, I'm going to step back even one more, because when we went to, I'm going to step back 2 more. So I went down to South by Southwest this March, and Sean lives in Austin, which is where the South by Southwest conference is held. Now, that's always been my go-to conference. When I say always, I mean for like 5 or 6 years, but still. And this year, nobody decided to go. Like, a lot of people, I was big, but nobody from sort of our core group. There's like the copy blogger group. There's just sort of that tribe, and I think it's mainly because Copy Blogger was holding their authority intensive seminar.
Which also, that was in-person stuff where I think we greatly benefited from.
That actually dovetails into this, so that's part of this story. And so I just hung out with Sean the whole time, and we planned stuff out, and it was great. Like, it was fantastic. But then on one of the final nights, we were just having dinner in some Thai restaurant, and we were like, I'd love to go to the Copy Blogger event, but it just doesn't make sense. Like, it's another plane ticket, it's another hotel room, it's it's just too much. Like, and we
It's
don't
time
want
away
travel.
from fiction, you know. I
And
mean,
time away from our families.
yeah, it really disrupts our schedule, you know, not just the time away where you're not working, but getting back into flow and all of that. So it's not just the money it costs to do it, it's the actual cost of having less assets, having less stories told,
Right.
having less momentum.
So we weren't going to go, and then we ended up deciding to go, but it was very much just we want to go meet people. And so we were basically, our plan was to hang around the conference, not even really attend it much. Like, you know, we wanted to see people. We wanted to go meet up. There was no business motive really at all. Like, we thought we could hoodwink them into getting us to speak, like, impromptu, and we bothered Brian Clark the entire time about, hey, if somebody doesn't show up, we can go on stage right now without pants if necessary. And so that was the attitude that we went in, and we came back so loaded with connections and new just ideas and inspiration, and everything that's happened with the Rainmaker structure that we use on the website, the genesis of the Sterling and Stone website came out of that, where we had zero business expectations going in. We just wanted to socialize, and we just met a ton of people. And then the same thing happened at Author Marketing Live. Like, that's local for me. It's Cleveland. It's just a quick drive up. And so we were just kind of like, well, we'll show up a little before the keynote. We'll give our speech, and then we'll go, because we had other things we really wanted to talk about. And still, like, it's almost like we're trying to not get any business benefit out of it, and it's always there. So I can't overestimate that I think people should do live things.
Well, you know what? It's funny because we all handle a lot of email, right? And people ask questions, people introduce themselves, people share their stories, and that's all really, really wonderful. But the moment I actually am looking in someone's eyes or exchanging ideas with them in person, that's a totally different level. And it's impossible to divorce yourself from that the next time you see an email. It gives more weight, it gives more permanence to the relationship. I mean, there's some people you develop a really good relationship with anyway, even though it's just all digital. But that face-to-face connection is, you know, it's deeper, it's better, it's just, you can do more with it. It can go more places.
And in a surprising way. Like, you'd think, well, this is video. You know, we know what each other looks like. We're able to see facial expressions and read body language. But there's something.
It's energy. It's physical energy. It's totally different. How about the Donovan example?
Well, I have mine right here, actually. So this is Jay Thorne's new book, and he gave Sean and I each one of these. I really love the cover, actually, the Black Fang Betrayal. And it's just like, we met Jay, and we'd had him on the show, and we'd exchanged some emails and that sort of thing.
He'd even done an 8 questions really recently.
We did the 8, like, it was, I think, like right before we went with the 8 questions. But it's like, I don't know, like, we're able to connect and we're able to talk, and I wouldn't be surprised if we, you know, like, I'll probably meet with him. He's local to Cleveland too. And then you were talking about Donovan too.
Yeah, we stood in a semicircle with Jay and a few other people for like 40 minutes talking about.
Was that the semicircle where this guy came up, said, "May I join you?" Stood there for 3 minutes and then left?
No, but do you remember why he left? He asked if we
Get involved.
He asked if we were writers for Breaking Bad, and we said no, and then he just and then he left.
That dude probably walks. That dude probably walks into all sorts of circles, figuring that eventually the odds are going to be in his favor.
Somebody's going to say yes.
And totally like fuck with him and like told him about this like wacky story idea.
It's not
we
really
would
over.
have if you were there. Yeah. But you know, we talked about, you know, nothing huge, nothing of weight. It's not like we sat there. Here's the thing: you can't go into a situation like that, you know, trying to hatch a scheme and thinking about, you know, what kind of connections can I make. That's crappy networking.
That's the opposite of
Yeah, and I'm not wired to do that. You know, if I think about a situation like that, I get all like, ugh, I just don't want to be there. But if it's just, and honestly, if I was going alone, I'd probably not go. The fact that okay, I'll be with Johnny. Like, it was easy. Because I could just hang out with Johnny, and anything else that happened. So that made me happy. And honestly, I would never have gone to any conferences. I never would have gone to Blog World. I never would have done anything had it not been for Cindy, who always encourages me to do things like that and step out of my shell. And every single.
Did you just hear that, Dave, where Sean said that he was going to step out of his shell?
Well, no, it's true. I'm very shy until I'm comfortable. I'm really comfortable with you guys, and so I can be loud and obnoxious and whatever. But
can we write a story about a woman who meets a guy and has to pull him out of his shy and endearing shell, and then he won't shut the fuck up? It's like a Twilight Zone.
Brain.
Sure. But no, every time I've gone to a conference, there's been amazing things that have come from it. But I'm always shy to go at first. But anyway, the point is you can't go in thinking I'm going to meet this person and this is going to happen. And certainly you can have your your wish list of who you want to run into, but just don't go with an agenda. Go with an open heart.
You started to talk about Donovan. I think that's a really good example. And by the way, I remember, I think I wrote some stuff about this when I was doing just the Johnny B. Truant blog. But I remember thinking that it was like it's networking without networking. It's networking via hanging out. And I think that if you go in and you say I'm going to network with people. Like, you know what it is? It's the phenomenon where we had business cards printed up. Obviously, business cards are a good thing. You can hand over your contact information. But there's a vibe that goes with the kind of person that you can tell is just coming at you with a business card like it's a loaded gun. And that sucks. Like when I see one of those people and you can tell they're trying to talk you up and they're trying to business you a little bit, it's like I can see them come. I remember this happened at Blog World to me a few times, and it was just like, oh, I'm so not interested in talking to you because it's clear they're trying to establish a connection in quotes instead of just talk.
Yeah, this is the first time I've ever had a business card with me. For exactly that reason. Like I don't want it to be about business. I want it to be about connection. And then later, if we have business, that happens. And there's a couple of good examples that happened this weekend that were exactly that way. It was about the connection with the person, and then later, if Johnny and I get to talking, and oh yeah, that person, maybe they'd be interested in this thing. And so Donovan Shear is his name, and he has fearandsunshine.com. And
you were in Fiction Unboxed. He did the Fiction Unboxed a couple pieces of fan art.
Right, and that's what I was going to say.
We know him from Twitter and from the Unboxed community and stuff. Yeah, but mainly from Twitter for me.
Well, for me, it was my first introduction was in the Unboxed forums. And it was like day 2 of writing. It was really, really early, which is what surprised me so much about it. Was he did a couple pieces of fan art. One that had Isla strapped to the blunderbuss, and one that had her at the Solstice Festival. And it was just really cool that somebody had done fan art for a story world that was like hours old, and B, that they had done it so fast and it shared it. And I thought that was really, really cool. Anyway, we see Donovan, he's at Author Marketing Live, and he brings the fan art. Hold on, I'll grab it. I have it right here.
Yeah, and Donovan was like enthusiastic. Like he just had this energy. He was like, I was thinking on okay, so maybe I shouldn't tell this story if Sean's back already, because you're probably going to go into it.
Yeah. Okay. So here's one piece. I don't know how well you can see that on there, but
it's a little tricky, but that's
There's one.
Were there? Yeah. So, but he
there's a glare. But they're just really cool sketches, and they're in this like laminate sleeve, so they're catching a lot of glare. But anyway, they're really, really cool, and just the fact that we were getting handed this art was just so exciting. It was really, really cool. And he said, "Oh my God, I was listening." This is my Donovan impersonation. It's terrible. "Oh my God, I'm so excited. I was listening to the Almanac, our weekly Almanac that we do on Sundays, where we just talk about business. And the latest one had a conversation about the overhaul that we wanted to do on Lexi's line. And one of those titles was Filthy Fairy Tales. We wanted to, we said we wanted to get it like a more cartoony look that was playful and sexy at the same time. And Donovan's like, "I want to do that cover." And he was just so excited. And that kind of enthusiasm is infectious. Like that's exactly who you want to do that, right? So anyway, it's what, a week later, and we have this. So I'm going to screen share. Hold on one second. And there we go. And I love this cover. Like, this cover is fantastic. It's got
So for the audio people, he's got the mermaid, Snow White, and Pinocchio. By the way, Snow White and Pinocchio are public domain, so it's not like we're ripping off Disney here. On the cover, and Pinocchio has this sort of lecherous look as he is playing with Snow White's garter. But it's slutty and playful at the same time.
Yeah, it's exactly the look that we wanted. And we knew we wanted it, but it took meeting Donovan in person and seeing his enthusiasm, and like that was easy. That was a very easy decision.
And seeing his scrappiness, like this is something we talked about. Jay Thorne is very, very scrappy, and I say that in a very endearing way. We think that we're scrappy. It's just like he brought a stack. This is Donovan. He brought a stack of his own stuff that he was doing, but it wasn't like, here, let me show you my portfolio. But at the same time, it was like, at the same time, it was like, here's I'm doing this and I'm doing this, and he had cards for an app that he was doing, and it was just like one of those moments where you kind of go, what the fuck? Like, you're really doing everything. And it just reminds me of the sort of, like, that's what it takes. It takes, like, I'm going to try this, and I'm going to try this, and I'm going to be a little all over the place. And I really respect anything like that.
Yeah, but to be clear, it's not like Donovan cornered us and was like, I want to do that cover. It wasn't like that at all. It was, yeah, it was about having a conversation. He wanted to share the art with us. And when the conversation naturally turned to the almanac, which he really digs, it was such a natural progression. And that was really, really fantastic, because that's exactly what you want from an in-person event. I think that we win by knowing Donovan, and I think that Donovan won by knowing us. And it's just, that wouldn't have happened in email. It wouldn't have happened on the forums. In the forums, I thought Donovan's a cool guy. I like him. I like what he's doing. But that's just different than in person.
Yeah, it was really fantastic. We met a lot of I was just trying to type something. I'm just fucking it all up. It was really, really cool. I mean, I do have some more things to say about Author Marketing Live, but I feel like we haven't gotten a lot from Dave yet. And in true behind the computer fashion, he's again mute as we dominate and beat the show to death. So, Dave, I'm gonna put you on the spot. You ready to be on the spot?
All right.
Okay. What was the coolest thing about the summit last weekend? Was it all of us meeting up for the first time?
That might be a close second, maybe.
Well, so I'm going to resist the urge to say what was the first, because that would not be suitably impromptu of me. But wasn't it being in the room with other creatives and coming up with awesome world building?
No, that was cool too. Maybe that was tied for second, but not the best thing. No.
Well, so was the most awesome part the meat on swords when we went to the steakhouse and the guys were walking around with here's some more meat on a sword and I will cut it off for you?
No, that was probably the worst part of the weekend. The best part of the weekend for me was actually seeing and holding in my hands the Dark Crossings cover, their book. And here it is. It is beautiful. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, wow, you must have had that done by, like, God or something.
I am thinking that. Oh, or Caption Access, perhaps.
No, it wasn't God or Caption Access. It was actually the designers at 99designs.com.
Oh, well, close.
They made this beautiful, beautiful book cover. And this is a book that I'm actually proud to hand out to people. And it's awesome. And that is the cool thing about 99 Designs is.
Did you have anything to lose with that cover?
Well, I wanted a good cover, and I made all the Dark Crossings like individual, like series 1, 2, and 3, or volume 1, 2, and 3 covers, but none of them were as beautiful as this. For the collection, for all 3 books, we wanted something that was beautiful and that I personally could not do. So we turned to the folks at 99designs.com. We had it in just a little bit over a week, I think, and it's absolutely awesome. We had all of our readers like vote on the cover design, and we had so many awesome ones to choose from. It was just like, I wish we could have used them all.
I have not heard of this 99 Designs place. Please continue.
Yes, whether you want book cover, website banner ads, designs, T-shirts, they do at world maps. They do anything you could think of, an artistic need, pretty much anything you think of. 99 Designs has you covered, and it usually takes about a week. And
would you highly recommend them, or just a little bit?
No, you see this book? It's beautiful.
That's true. That's true.
I am giving this book to everyone as like a gift. Now I don't have to buy actual gifts. I can just give this thing out, and it's beautiful. So, yes, the best part is with 99designs.com, if you don't like the book cover...
If you don't like the book, you're just fucked, right?
No, you're not fucked. You have absolutely nothing to lose. They don't take your money. If you don't like the cover, you're out. You leave like a bandit in the night. So
all right.
Absolutely nothing to lose.
That's great. Well, so start your custom design today at 99designs.com/SPP and enjoy a free Power Pack upgrade valued at $99. That's a Power Pack upgrade, not a Jet Pack upgrade. We've had some confusion on that.
Yeah, I was
Power Pack upgrade. I know. Makes your design contest stand out from the crowd. Well, they will bold your listing and highlight it with a prominent background and feature it before those schlubs who got regular listings. And on average, get another 185%. Yes, the poor masses yearning to breathe, better ad placement.
Yeah.
So visit 99designs.com/SPP, get started on a great design, and then, Dave, you can feel free to go back to your cave now that I've put you on the spot.
Okay.
Or you can hang out with us, because, that's how we roll. Okay. Well, it was just great. Like, it was just great meeting everybody. I feel like we got a lot of, I'm going back to Author Marketing Live, although we'll move to the summit in a second. I felt like we got a lot of SPP love. That was fantastic. We met and it's funny how you know people too. So like, I just knew this Twitter account that retweets us, Writership, right? Like it was like, I knew them. They were always retweeting us, and so we met the ladies from Writership, and they were really cool fans. Like it was.
They were really cool, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's weird because someone will come up to you and there's like layers, right? Oh, I listened to SPP. Oh, that's awesome. I read all your books. Oh, that's more awesome. I read all your books and I was in Unboxed. Like, oh, that's super awesome. And you just
outside your window last.
Oh, that's a little less awesome.
That's way less awesome. But it's just so neat to, I don't know. It's just you feel like there's a lot of value to what you do, especially because we got a good number of thank you. We talked to one guy who like he straight up like quit his job, which I mean that sends shivers down Dave's spine because like why would you do that? Someone was paying you for work, and it's
paying him well.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right. The guy was not like flipping burgers. The guy had a good job, a solid job. The job that gets you the house and the car and all the nice things. And he's like, I am not fulfilled. And he's writing military fiction, and like he's given himself a year to do it. And I so admire the balls on that. And
he showed you his balls?
He did. They were big and hairy. They were like a big
rash.
Yeah, they like a full handful, like purr. So anyway,
I'm just gonna take the tea bag out of my coffee on that one, out of my tea.
I just think it's really cool to know that even though we don't exactly give advice, we're just more sharing our experience, that is meaningful to people out there.
We also I had met Jim before, Jim Kukral. I met him a few times since he's Cleveland, but Sean hadn't met him. And so we hung out with Jim just a little bit because he was running the event. Brian Cohen, his co-author for the Sell More Books show, I hadn't met Brian. That was great. We had Ashley Coombe on the show a while ago. She was there. And Steve Scott, like we like Steve.
Oh, it was great to meet. It was great to meet.
Never
Steve.
met him in person. We didn't know what he looked like.
Yeah.
Sean actually pulled this ninja trick.
Oh, that was so awesome.
Right, where we knew that Steve was out there. But there were like 150, 200 people there. So on while we're speaking, he had an example using Steve, and he said, "There's an author, Steve Skies. Steve, here, where are you?" And then he raised his hand. We're like, "Okay, now we know where he is. So we go find him later." But that was great to meet him, and just I don't know, it was just fantastic to put some faces with names, and it isn't like that's the sort of thing you can get through any live interaction.
And I think contrasted that with the summit, which was just a totally different event, because AMC Live had a lot of people. It was populated. It was multiple speakers, and
David Lawrence we met in person. Speaking of other speakers, and we didn't talk about Derek. Derek Murphy is going to be doing some cover work for us.
And again, that only happened because we had a conversation.
He's Joanna Penn's cover guy.
And he gave his talk was on covers and the value of communicating effectively through your cover, what you want your potential reader and potential buyer to get from that cover. But anyway, that whole event was it was a little louder and a little just bigger, and the summit
I can't wait to see the video, because I have no line of sight to what that was like how well. I mean, it felt good. Like, it felt like our speech was really good. It felt like people were digging it, but they were also really tired, and so I just
okay. So one nick on the speech was that we were really excited to give this keynote, and we had actually. I mean, we tend to ramble and go off topic, right? But we really didn't. But we didn't. We had the slides all set up ahead of time, and we went down to a coffee shop to kind of practice a little ahead of time, and we got a few slides in, and we're like, this is so unnatural. Like, this isn't what we do. We just need the bullet points to kind of bounce off of each other. And we thought once we get up on stage, we'll just talk and then give each other verbal cues when it's time to take the ball, and we have confidence that will work. And it really did. We were on topic. We actually finished 10 minutes under time, which was kind of amazing. But having said that, we were twice as long just because we were the closing keynotes. We were booked for twice as much time as anybody else, and it was at the end of a very long day. So I think the audience was a little bit tired. But
so I can't wait on that. But now we have another speaking credential under our belt, and we'll put it on our speaker page, and expect to see more speaking from Sean and I. I think Dave has no interest in speaking, but from Sean and I expect more speaking.
I hate the idea so much.
Is there a professional grunting sort of thing I can do? Like, just go on stage and grunt at people?
I think we could get him speaking.
You're gonna get to the stage where you're gonna be well enough known for your curmudgeonry that Sean and I will give speeches. You'll sit in a chair by the side of the stage and just
throw stuff at us. No, you can throw stuff at us.
Right,
and you'll get old men from the Muppets.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. But let's talk a little about the summit too, because that was like Sean said, the energy was very, very different, but very, very cool in a totally opposite not opposite, but a very different way.
The summit was pretty much my favorite thing ever.
Yes. Did that include the time when Haley, Sean's 12-year-old daughter Haley, and Dave were talking about starting a podcast called Sunshine and Death?
This actually happened. We should talk about that on BOU. You
know what?
Yeah, even if you don't ever listen to BOU, which you shouldn't, it might be worth listening to this episode of BOU.
To episode 100 and maybe 101, depending on whether we try to go for 2.
Yeah, just because this is all we'll talk about, and it's all the stuff that won't make the SPP because it's not really relevant. But oh my God, is it funny? But in all seriousness, Dave and my daughter sat there for like an hour talking about this show called Sunshine and Death, where she would be, because she's a little bit.
She's like Sean on lithium.
She's like a girl Sean with like unicorns.
She makes Sean look morose and depressing and pessimistic and subdued.
Yeah, so it was pretty funny to watch them.
I think she's a lot like Sean when he was a little girl.
Right.
I think the cool part about the weekend, and I hated going there. I hated driving there. I hated driving back. But actually being there was awesome. And the cool thing was being in a room with other people and like just brainstorming these ideas for the Dream Engine or Blunderbuss, however you're referring to the world itself. Uh, just brainstorming with all these people, and they had great ideas, and we're just bouncing back and forth. And that's what I loved most. Like when I was a newspaper reporter, just being with other people that were creative and talking about stories and coming up with ideas. And it's like a million times better with actual fiction. And we get that a little bit when we do our hangouts and we talk on the phone, Sean and I, when we're doing our stuff. But actually meeting in person is it's just another level of awesomeness. And I I would love to do it all the time, but obviously I don't live there, so I can't. But it's just great.
Move.
Yeah, it was really really special because you could feel the electricity, and both events were very aptly named. Author Marketing Live was exactly that. It was a live event with it was all talking about how to market your books, and the World Builder Summit was exactly that. We were sitting in there and we were making up the rules to this world, and just like
how this makes me look. I just want to, since you said the feel, I just want to interject. I know this, and actually the post that I'm writing about this starts with "I've been called arrogant." Like I want to go ahead and defuse that bomb, but the feel was like when you hear these stories about like Pixar when they were brand new, and nobody knew who they were really, and they were coming up like, let's do Toy Story, and that's the feel that now. Obviously, I'm not saying that we're going to become Pixar.
No, I
or anything
totally
like
agree.
that.
I
But
totally
the feel
agree.
was that. The feel was like we could look back on that and say that was where it began. And it
Yeah,
was
everyone in that room knows that they were a part of something really special, and it was just really neat because before the Unboxed project started, before we started the Dream Engine, we had no idea what that was going to be, what that book would be, what anything. The closest we had was my little brain fart of steampunk Lord of the Rings, and we didn't know how that would manifest, how that would end up, and it ended up being something really really cool. But by design, we didn't want to think about it until it was time to think about it. And this was the same. Johnny asked me on Friday. The summit's actually starting Friday night, Saturday morning, and on Friday afternoon he says, "So, what kind of ideas do you have?" And I'm like, "I don't have any ideas. I know one
for the Dream Engine too, right?
For the Dream Engine 2, right, which is what we're going to do. Now we had an agenda for the summit, which we followed almost not at all, because what we ended up doing was much much better. We had a lot of introduction stuff that we just took care of Friday night. We ended up talking to our group like way into the night, and
everything instructional, everybody kept backing away from. They were like, well, we don't really need you to teach us stuff. Let's just talk and strategize.
Yeah, they just wanted. There were two main things that got hashed out. All strategy stuff for how to make all of our stories work together and build the world better, and then just actual world building stuff. And all we knew going in was that there would be one extra character named General Wellington, who is based off of Gordon Ramsay, and he's going to have a bionic arm. But that wasn't decided until, I don't remember, one of the attendees.
No, the bionic arm came. I'm trying to remember who said that, but I do remember that was distinctly somebody said something about bionic arms, and then you were like, well, could General Wellington have a bionic arm, right? Could you all in favor? And yeah, so we decided.
Right, and there was a lot of that. Like we'd pitch one stupid idea and then take a vote on who liked the stupid idea, and it was really cool just seeing the pieces assemble. A little bit on the first day, and a lot on the second day. By the second day, the juices were all flowing, and we were all very comfortable with one another, and so there was a lot of rat-a-tat-tat. And it was just really, really cool to see so many ideas gel. And, the world of Altera got a lot bigger. We drew a map. It was kind of cool. Johnny drew a map of Altera. And then on Monday, Anita had put a map. Like she went and drew a map. Like,
one that looked like an old cartographer's, here they be dragons sort of a map.
Yeah, it was just really, really a special, unforgettable event. And, like Johnny said, even if he's overstating it, it really did feel like something, small, like Pixar before they're big. You know, we are building this world here, and we've got a handful of authors writing canon stuff that our work is now dependent on their work, and vice versa. And then we'll have a lot of other authors writing in this world, and that is pretty special. You know, that is a really, really cool thing.
And big kudos to the people who came. I'm not deliberately not mentioning names, but so okay, so I don't know. There's only one I don't know if I'm allowed to say because he hasn't officially weighed in. But Amy and Monica and Matt and Garrett. Oh my God, meeting Garrett in person too. that was funny. Didn't realize Garrett smoked. So there you go. Another thing I
didn't realize he was Lurch. That guy's taller than me.
About that on BOU.
And I don't know if I'm allowed because I haven't gotten official okay from the other guy who turned out to be
he
hilarious.
Was the funniest person ever. And what was funny is the fifth one, the mystery man or woman, was just started.
I already said it was a he.
That mystery man, that mystery woman, he was hilarious for sure.
Well, on the first day, he was actually the first person that we met, and he was a little subdued, and then he was a little subdued through the night. And the first half of the day, and then all of a sudden there was just like a switch flipped, and
someone pulled him out of his shell.
Someone pulled him out of his shell, and he became the funniest person ever. I laughed so hard.
He rode Garrett's balls the entire time about the Scrivener for Beats videos because they were in Garrett's court, and Sean was giving him shit about it. And Sean said, everybody's got to bust on Garrett so we can get these Scrivener for Beats videos going. And he just rode him the entire time.
He rode him like a rented donkey. He really did.
At one point, Garrett was like, here, like on his phone. He was like, here it is. Here's your fucking videos. Like, I got him up last night, motherfucker. And
he stayed up until like 3 a.m. doing it, even though we were like working late.
And so then this guy goes, oh, I'm just messing with you. I don't even have Scrivener.
He didn't download it yet.
He didn't download it yet. So yeah, his process was fantastic. He like writes by hand and then types it into an iPad. I was like, oh my God, how do you? We need to fix that.
Yeah, we need to do a productivity section just for him, really.
Right.
But the ideas were so good, and
we talk about collaboration a lot on this show with us. Like the three of us in everything we do here, but then Sean and I and Dave and Sean for our respective fiction works. But I'd never it brought it to a new level. Like the idea when TV shows have writers' rooms where they all get together and they hash out and I hash out a story in a group, and I always kind of didn't really get how that worked. But that's what happened here, and everybody sort of took. So basically. We'll post some sort of a 10 Commandments of the blunderbuss world at some point, but we decided that it's basically the Earth map, and Altera is pretty much the UK, like almost unchanged, and so the rest of the world was kind of for grabs, and everybody kind of divvied it up. Like
that Garrett, was so awesome.
Garrett took the Asian section, and Matt took Australia. And Monica and Amy were both telling stories inside of Altera, and our other guy took Africa, which I'm really excited about that story too. And
his ideas were fantastic too, and he was the first one who he came with he already knew how his blunderbuss worked, and he had intricate explanations for it, and it was all very cool.
And we knew how his story was going to take place before the main timeline, and then Monica and Amy, because it was inside the borders, they had questions about what was the one of my favorite things that was brought to the table was so I'll give one for both. So with Monica, her story is going to take place having to do with Joffrey Collins, the asylum, and now we know where Joffrey Collins is on the Isle of Man. If you know the UK, there's the Isle of Man, which is this little island, and it's in a kind of bay.
Raining men.
It's rain and men, and the fog actually goes outside, so it's like in the middle of this lake that's inside the fog, essentially, is what it would look like to them. And then Amy's stuff, she wanted to do this training academy.
Hers was so sophisticated it made us all feel like slobs.
Oh, it was awesome. So she wanted to do a training academy for the Ministry of Decorum, which is where Juliet works in the Dream Engine, and that's Isla's mother. And they're in charge of making things pretty, but she had this whole thing about manipulations that they were doing and little little espionage sorts of things that twisted the entire thing around. The entire thing that we were thinking about doing for Dream Engine 2 and 3, and giving Juliet a bigger role, and she had an aesthetic in mind, and we're like, and Sean already had been thinking of like Soul Calibur as this aesthetic for the Dream Engine 2, and Haley had even made an Isla character who has an umbrella as a weapon, and so I'm just putting all these pieces together with the fashion of that, and this sort of League of Spies with decorum, and that all, it was all together. It wasn't us, it wasn't them, it was the collective. It was
it was collaboration at its most pure and beautiful. There's not a Dark Crossings book a Collective Inkwell book that would exist without the two of us, and there's no Realm and Sands book that would exist without the two of us. And the same thing with this new version of the Dream Engine in 2 and 3. Johnny and I will be writing that, but it would not exist in any. It wouldn't even resemble what's going to be written without every single person in that room. I think the contributions were all over the place, and they were all, everyone brought value and enthusiasm and excitement, and they really helped to shape and create something remarkable.
And the other thing that was really cool is that the World Builder books are canon. They will be considered like they need to. This is the canon. You obey this if you're writing in the world. We can't make everything canon because it's just impossible. I think that the colonist session, because we're going to do a colonist session, which is a less expensive but just as awesome version of this, with obviously some less awesome, I suppose, but still awesome. Like Dave probably won't be there. We're going to do that in the spring, and so those works will be sort of semi-canon. And they'll be near canon, say. But these World Builder books are canon, and so we had to make sure that that they all agreed with each other and weren't inconsistent or contradicting each other. And so we decided at the summit that we're going to do a bundle that will make perma-free that contains everybody's first book. And we're like setting deadlines. We're like, okay, can you have it done by this day? Can you have it done by this day? And we want to have it perma-free before the colonist session, and then we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. And so it'll be this big, huge, permanent free bundle that'll contain the Dream Engine 1 and the first book in everybody else's series or serial. I think Matt was going to do a serial. And that'll be our lead gen. And we'll all be pushing. I mean, this is a collaborative effort. It was like a mastermind. It was collaborative work in its purest form.
Yeah, it was great because we had the world building stuff, which is awesome, but we also had good marketing minds in the room too. And so, the collaborative effort on actually how do we not only build this, but how do we get it in front of as many eyes as possible? That was really special also. Hey, do you think it's any kind of a spoiler to talk about Garrett's project before? I mean, his part of that bundle before he actually does his book?
I don't have in mind what would particularly be the spoiler.
Just the nature of the project. No, because I think a lot of people who are writing other books.
We probably shouldn't speak for, yeah.
Okay, so never mind. But it's awesome. It is
awesome.
And what's awesome about it is that I think it helps to shape the world, but it also just kind of binds everything together and is a good example of both the creative possibilities of what we're doing and how the marketing is kind of baked into the art in this instance.
So there you go. That's why we think you should attend live events. It's just there's no way to replace any of it. So I know that I don't know what we'll be at next. I imagine I'll go down for South by Southwest, but I wouldn't plan on that. Wouldn't be the place to hook up with us because it doesn't seem like that'll probably just be
yeah. And just to be clear on this, really, this doesn't mean going to a high-end event or a low-end event either. It just means find somebody that you can gel with locally, or when those opportunities come, and take them because you want to. That chemistry is just it's life-changing. Even if it's just small incremental life changes, they are changes, and they're benefit. They're big changes that aren't. It's the kind of stuff that it nudges your life forward. I feel like we could all agree that Dave changed a lot this weekend.
What?
Yeah,
Stay tuned to Better Off episode, Better Off Undead 100 for that.
It's so true, and it's just you want to capture them when they happen because they move your creative and your business life forward, and that's what we're trying to do, right?
Right. But yeah, I imagine that we will be at we'll go to the next Copy Blogger thing, which is probably in May. The next Authority. If Author Marketing Live is going to do one or maybe two more in the next 12 months, and so I'm sure we'll be there. And then if you're the colonist session, if you're at all interested in that, just stay on our mailing lists, I suppose, and we'll talk more about that. Like everything, it'll form as we go. So all right, everybody. Well, this has been the Self-Publishing Podcast, and if you'd like to get our advice, get our best advice without all the off-topic bullshit, be sure to pick up our book, Write, Publish, Repeat, the No Luck Required Guide to Self-Publishing Success at selfpublishingpodcast.com/WPR. And if you've ever wanted to see how a novel really gets written, you can watch Sean and I write one from start to finish with Dave brainstorming in the beginning with nothing held back at fictionunboxed.com. So thanks so much for listening, everybody, and we will see y'all next week.